Most of you Oak Cresters recognize this lady, Elaine Wagenfuhrer, and Elaine tells me that there's something very special that we can insert right about here.
Good afternoon. We've had the pleasure over the past few years to learn all about Dick. Some of you know him, some of you don't know him really well. Pastor Klein and Duke Ball both did some interviews recently with Dick, and we'd like to share them with you so that you can learn a little bit more about him.
My guest today is Dick Smith, who you'll know very well from his music that he oftentimes plays in church. But there's so much more to this man, it'll be a wonderful opportunity to get to know him. So welcome to the show, Dick. I'm telling you, you're a man of many talents. And the one that we're probably most familiar with is your ability to compose music. Now, when in the world did that ever become a part of your life?
In 1931, goes way back, I went to a concert at the Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. to hear Rachmaninoff play one of his concerts. In fact, it was one of his last concerts. He died shortly after that. In doing so, he played some of his own music. After he played the concert, everybody wanted to hear him play his Prelude in C-sharp minor, which is one of his famous pieces. After 3 encores, he finally played Prelude in C-sharp minor, and then everybody was quiet. It was so impressive that it impressed me so that I immediately, when I went home, I went to a buddy's house, and I tinkered out my own melody on the piano. I was not a piano player then, and in doing so, all those years from 1931 to 1972, I wrote My Life Concerto. I named it that to begin with, but I had to change the name because a concerto means you're playing with other orchestra pieces. But this is a piano solo itself. And I composed it. I had a professional write it down for me on a sheet of paper because I can't write music. And then I had it print it up, and now I have it in print form so that other people can read it.
Well, did you ever have piano lessons?
No, I never had piano lessons.
Oh, now, that's disgusting for a person to just be able to sit down and play the piano.
Well,
I should be able to do that, and I can't.
In 1975, Sarah and I bought a good piano, and then is when I sat down seriously and started learning my chords and my melodies all together. And today I play twice a week here at Crestview Hall, Crestview Station, and also at Fireside.
Well, I'm telling you, we're always very pleased to have you play in church, generally around Christmas time, isn't it?
No, Easter, I made Easter music, crucifixion, and resurrection.
And then all of us kind of got together and put some words to another piece.
In 1940, I wrote that piece that we wrote the words to.
Yeah.
But I didn't do much with it until after I started to play the piano myself. And Sarah liked the music so well that she wrote the words to it. Mm. And then we introduced it to you, and you wrote the second and third stanzas. And then Frank Smith, the organist, he played the fourth verse to it.
Well, Dick, this has been a wonderful opportunity to get to know you, and I'm sure all of us are going to be so pleased to know this much about our good friend Dick Smith.
We are talking to Dick Smith, who is a resident here of Oak Crest, and he has composed a work called Life and Impromptu. And we have Dick here with us to talk about this piece. Dick, good morning and welcome. And let's start by asking you the genesis of this composition.
And back in the Great Depression, year 1931, I attended a concert by Rachmaninoff And from his piece, after he played it, I was so impressed and also inspired to write this music.
Yeah, your program tells me that this composition is somewhat based on Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C-sharp minor. Is that correct?
That's right.
That is correct.
In fact, I opened up my music with sounding like Rachmaninoff.
Ah, that's... Now, you have written this. You used a 19th century form, the impromptu. Schumann used it, Schubert has used it, others have used it, but you have put it into the guise of, if I will say, the 20th century. Why did you do that, and what was the challenge for you to do that?
Well, as you know, it took me 42 years to complete this piece. I've had many moods throughout all those years, and from each mood, I was able to hear music coming from it, and they were always cheerful music, and therefore it lifted me out of any depression or whatever mood I was in to a much higher level, and therefore I was able to accomplish this music. There's about 7 different moods throughout the music. When you hear it, you will hear different stages of my music.
Now, therefore, even though you talk about 7 different moods, will they all be kind of played all together without pause? Is that correct?
That's correct. One runs right into another.
Mm-hmm. Now, after you did something that most or a number of composers have done, and I think the one that comes to my mind is Felix Mendelssohn, who wrote his incidental music for A Midsummer Night's Dream. He wrote the overture when he was a teenager and then put it away for some time. As you started to write this and then put it aside for, what was it you said, 42 years, were there always things you were thinking about that, oh heavens, I wish I had put that in there, and then that you definitely put in at the rest of the next time you went back to it?
No, as I had these different moods, a different tune would come into my mind, and I was able to keep them in B-flat minor chords, and therefore I completed all the moods with different tunes all the way through for 42 years.
And that's right, because you were mentioning it, this piece is sort of in B-flat minor, isn't it?
That's right.
Well, this is fascinating, it's very interesting, and I can imagine in doing this, you probably have thought about other composers' impromptus that you thought about, or is this strictly your own thinking, your own device, using the term impromptu, but just saying, for example, well, it's an impromptu, but I'm not doing it like Schubert or Schumann, I'm doing it like Dick Smith. Isn't that a fair way to say it?
I always say, for my own amusement and other people's amazement.
Well, that's fascinating. We are looking forward to hearing this piece. We're going to first hear the Rachmaninoff Prelude in C-sharp minor, and then we're going to hear Life and Impromptu by our resident Dick Smith.